everybody, welcome to Tuesday and welcome back to One Deck, 1 Month, episode 3 here with the Mekk Knight. It is currently about 5:25 here on this fine afternoon, and we're going to be heading to locals here shortly. I just spent a good chunk of time putting together and finalizing the deck list we're going to be playing today, obviously Mekk Knights. I'll throw the deck list up here on the screen. We are on Signet Mining. Last week you guys saw we had Ibly in the side deck come Saturday, but this time around I wanted to go all out with the Ibly and Signet Mining just because it's very consistent. It's a card that we can technically play 6 copies of. We're also playing 3 Unexpected Die, cards like Hornet Drones, Reasoning, all that stuff. We actually have a very decent starter count now of I think of like 13 cards. So I'm feeling very confident that the deck will be able to make columns on its own, independent of what the opponent is doing, which is the biggest thing that we needed to fix, because that's obviously one of Mekk Knight's biggest weaknesses. And obviously we're still going to be playing to go second, but now if we have to go first, we don't have to worry about changing our entire core strategy, come game 1. The side deck is a little iffy. I'm still not sure how, much I want to dedicate of the side deck to going first versus going second, because I feel like anytime we're going to be going to the side, it's more likely to be either more beneficial for us to go first, or our opponent is just going to outright make us go first. So I'm not really entirely decided there yet. The other build that I wanted to try today, but unfortunately won't be able to try, is a more Cybers heavy engine. I wanted to play 3 of a card called Link Intra Flyer. Basically, this card can special summon it to itself to its own Link monster points to, but it also has 0 attack, which means we can normal summon it and link it into Link Disciple to be able to draw a card later on if we need be. I also wanted to play that card alongside of Ibly, because if we open Signet Mining and Ibly, we can technically go ahead and use that Signet Mining instead of just, having it be dead there in our hand. To not go grab another Ibly, but to go grab Intraflyer to use as a sort of an extender at that point to summon to the zone that our Link Disciple pointed to, that we made with our Ibly to tribute it off to draw a card, or, make another link to whatever it might be. So that's an idea that I had. I tested a little bit on stream, had some success with it, had some fun with it. Might try it this coming Saturday if I can get my hands on the cards, but I showed you guys the list. I don't really have much else to say about it other than hopefully we can do well tonight, because I've been a little bummed out with the Mekk Knight strategy as of late, especially after last Saturday and how bad that went. We went 1-3, absolutely dreadful finish. But hopefully today we can learn some things, most importantly. Maybe we're on the right track with this. I am feeling confident about the ratios. I just wish I could fit more hand traps in here. It's just very hard to do with how big the Mekk Knight / World Legacy engine is. And then, playing a good normal summon engine, at least at most, like the Signets and the Iblys and everything. But I like this for now. We're going to give it a shot. I'm going to get ready to go, and then I should see you guys at locals. Alright, so we are just about ready to leave. It is 5:40 and round 1 should be starting in just about an hour or so. So now we're going to go through all 4 of our matches here, and in round 1 we ended up playing against something very obscure, and it was basically just anti-meta as far as I'm concerned. I don't really think there is a better name for it. But basically he ends up going first. Obviously we are still trying to go second with this current list here, and I believe he ends on a Thunder King Ryo with 3 set back row. And from there we basically normal summon our Ibly Link for Link Disciple, and our next move is to go ahead and try to summon that of Indigo Eclipse, since he's already given us a column, and he hits it with a Void Trap, a card I haven't seen in quite a while. Our next move is then to summon a purple Nightfall in that column we had established with our Ibli and Link Disciple, and then he hits it with a Crackdown. Obviously, we couldn't chain the effect because that Thunder King Ryo was still on his field, so we had no choice other than to let him steal that purple Nightfall with the Crackdown. But it's alright because it was summoned off that of memory. So we should technically get it back in the end phase. Our next move is to go ahead and summon that of Indigo Eclipse off of a World Legacy Succession we had. Then we go into the battle phase and swing over that Thunder King Ryo with our Indigo Eclipse for 500 damage. And in main phase 2, we go ahead and use that Link Disciple to tribute off that Indigo to pick up another card. And in the end phase, that purple Nightfall bounces back to our hand to his surprise, so that Crackdown was not super valuable for him. But then on his turn, something pretty tragic happens. He actually ends up tributing away that Ibli for a copy of none other than Majesty's Fiend. So he obviously runs over the Link Disciple. End phase, we go ahead and E-Telly out that Blue Sky. Now on our turn, we start by special summoning that Purple Nightfall to our field because he has given us yet another column to work with. We attempt to go into the battle phase to remove that Majesty's Fiend, but he does have a Mirror Force, of course, right? So we lose that Purple Nightfall. Then our next move is to go ahead and slap down a Reasoning, which he does not have any answers for, and it does get us a Ibli to the field after he called a level 6, so the only card that we didn't want to hit at this point would be the Mekk Knight Green. But we do get a free Ibli on our side of the field, something that we can at least block damage with, so it isn't so terrible. We basically just have to pass after that. Next turn, as you might expect, he just runs over the Ibli. And on our next turn, we actually summon a Mekk Knight of the Blue Sky in defense position at 2500 defense, which he actually can't do anything about for a few turns. So we kind of pass back and forth for a little bit. I'm eventually able to find a copy of World Legacy's Secret here, but he does have Solemn Warning for it. Again, we just really can't get off the ground. But a turn or so later, I actually did draw into a copy of Infinite Impermanence. So once I saw that, I knew that we had an out to this Majesty's Fiend. It was just a matter of waiting one more turn. But on his next turn, he actually uses Mind Control to remove the Blue Sky from our field so we can get in for a direct attack, which is alright. We are pretty low on life points, but not so much that we have to be really worried at this point. So in his end phase, that Blue Sky does return back to our field. We actually can move it to a different column since we get to choose where it comes back to, so we can sort of free up room for more Mekk Knights. We start things off on our next turn, though, with that Infinite Impermanence, and boy, does it feel good to be unchained after this few turns of Majesty's Fiend, you know, completely shutting down all my monster effects. We start with a Blue Sky, add a copy of Red Moon, then we go ahead and link into Lib, the World Keyblade Master, and now we use Lib to go ahead and set a copy of Memory directly from the deck. From here, we go ahead and summon Red Moon to clear that Majesty's Fiend off the field so it isn't sticking around for the next turn. We attack in for 23, and he actually has a Gores on that 2300 attack. So in main phase 2, we just go ahead and make a Morning Star, shuffle the Gores back into the deck, and hope that he just can't get around the Morning Star and our secrets for that next turn, and we can basically just have enough time to be able to make a really solid push in the next turn. But unfortunately, again for us, he top decks a Harpy's Feather Duster that clears all of our back row, and then he actually goes ahead and tributes the token from Gores to summon that of Cyber Dragon, and then he goes ahead and contact fuses into a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Yes, it does have 0 attack at this point, and he does leave it in defense position, but it still sucks to pretty much have our entire field wipe. After the Chimera Tech, he summons Chaos Valkyrie, which I was not expecting, by banishing a Cyber Dragon, and he swings in for however much damage Valkyrie can do, and that pretty much does it for his turn. So on our next turn, we have a really solid top deck, and that is Mekk Knight Green Horizon. We actually normal summon our Ash Blossom to make Almirage, summon it in that same column that Almirage is in, and it so happens to be that Chimera Tech. So we just go into the battle phase, attack the 0/0 Chimera Tech, and add back a copy of Purple Nightfall. From there, we link into another copy of Lib and set a World Legacy key from the deck. It was kind of bittersweet not being able to activate it because we had no World Legacy monster in our graveyard, and this is one thing that I noticed the entire night with this build specifically, is a lot of times that we had Lib access, it just felt slower because, again, we weren't playing Girsu. We didn't have those World Legacy cards already set up in our graveyard to be able to use them, because at this point it would have been really nice to grab back that Blue Sky that's been banished for a few turns. And then from there, we summon Purple, tag out for Blue, Blue searches Indigo. And then from there, we link the Blue Sky and the Lib into Morning Star. We go ahead and pitch that Indigo to search Memory, because I believe at this point we were out of secrets. and we go ahead and shuffle back that Chaos Valkyrie. And now on his next turn, he's actually able to summon Photon Thrasher and put another level 4 monster on the board. He makes Silent Honor Arc and steals our Morningstar, and I think we're very, very close to being gamed right now. He attempts to attack indirectly for 2100. We do use that set memory to summon out a Yellow Star. He cannot get over that. The Yellow Star bounces back to our hand in the end phase, and then during our turn, Purple Nightfall comes back, and we pretty much go ahead and disassemble his field from there. We flip up that key to add back that Blue Sky. We go ahead and use purple immediately to clear our field so we can use an Unexpected Die in our hand. After we summon the Avram off Unexpected Die, we summon Blue Sky, search another copy of purple, go into a Morningstar, discard the other Avram we had, and search a copy of Whispers. And then from there, we just summon another purple and a yellow because we didn't summon purple by its own effect that turn. And we go ahead and push in for as much damage as we possibly can. We attack over for 400 over the Honor Arc for one time, and then we attack over it again because it does detach our Morningstar that we had with a Yellow Star for 100, and then we swing in for 2k direct, and then on his next turn, he scoops, and we head into game 2. So for game 2, I did side in some cards, Zaphion to name a few. He goes first, starts with Extravagance. We do hit it with an Ash Blossom, which feels oh so nice. And then he goes ahead and summons that T-King Ryo, and that pretty much sums it up for his turn. We start with Unexpected Die to go ahead and get an Avram out to go ahead and run over that Thunder King of his. We then go ahead and make a Link Spider with Avram, set an additional card, and summon Purple Nightfall from our hand. We attempt to try to use purple on our turn, but he does hit it with an Ash, so I decide instead of linking into Morningstar, I'm just going to leave our purple there so we can at least try to, have the effect go off on his next turn, so we can have it back in our next standby phase. During his turn, his only move is pretty much to attempt to try and mind control our Purple Nightfall, in which we just chain to dodge. We search a copy of Blue Sky, and then next turn, we go ahead and start by bringing back that Purple Nightfall. And then after that, we summon Blue Sky to search out another Mekk Knight. And then once we add that Indigo, we go ahead and link our Link Spider and our Blue Sky for Morningstar and go ahead and pitch that Indigo to the grave for a search. And we add another copy of Secret. From there, we go ahead and use a World Legacy Succession that we had in our hand to bring back that Indigo. And then we go ahead and use Purple Nightfall to search out that Mekk Knight Green Horizon. We go into the battle phase, and he has an Ash on his side of the field that he decided to normal summon. So we go ahead and attack into that with Green Horizon. On attack declaration, we go ahead and add back a free Blue Sky. We then attack into something else that he has on his field. I forget what it was at this point, and our Morningstar actually does come in clutch to protect our Indigo so that we don't lose our Indigo and we take no battle damage as well. And then Morningstar goes in for a direct 2k attack. From there, we go ahead and link into a copy of Lib. Then we use Lib to set a copy of Whispers, and then we go ahead and link into an Avramax. On his turn, he goes ahead and starts with Desires, and we actually go ahead and chain Secret, and then to that we chain Memory to go ahead and negate his Desires. After we negate his Desires, I think he special summons something like a Cyber Dragon to his side of the field, and then during our turn, our Purple Nightfall comes back. After that, we go ahead and use an Indigo Eclipse to move itself to the far left column to create space to summon a Blue Sky from our hand search. And we search a copy of Avram, normal summon it, and we go into the battle phase, and he concedes right then and there. So a very obscure match against a very anti-meta deck, but we take it 2-0. Alright, so in round 2, we ended up playing against Invoked Eldlik, a deck admittedly I'm pretty scared of. But going into this, I did have quite a bit of practice against the deck, so feeling overall confident though in the deck's abilities to at least deal with the strategy. Not to mention he's also playing a Dogmatica engine, and his end board ends up being that of Mekaba, Ecclesia, and also one set card, which we can presume to be a copy of Dogmatica Punishment or some sort of Eldlik back row. We proceed to normal summon an Ibli, which does scare him quite a bit because, that would turn off some of his Eldlik cards and, of course, his Dogmatica cards as well, and I guess also potentially turn off the Invoked engine since he'll only be able to Link summon. But we go ahead and link into Link Disciple. He actually does burn the Mekama Negate on that of Ibli. We set a card in that same column of his Ecclesia. We special summon Blue Sky, and yep, there it is, the Dogmatica Punishment. From there, we just go ahead and memory out a Red Moon, try to pop that of the Ecclesia, and he has an Imperm to stop it. In the end phase, our Red Moon bounces back to hand, and there's nothing else we can do. Next turn, he puts his Ecclesia into attack, summons a Fleur-de-Lis, and boosts up his Mekk, and that's just game right there. So we're going to move to game 2 now. So we start our turn with a copy of Unexpected Die to go for that of Avram, link into Ling Spider, summon a purple Nightfall after creating our own column. That resolves to grab us a copy of Indigo Eclipse. We go into Morningstar, pitch a copy of Memory, actually, I believe, and search a copy of Secret, and then I believe we just set 3 and pass with a Morningstar out, which I'm feeling pretty confident in, just because having those monster negates and having that battle phase protection can actually throw a few decks off quite easily. He starts with Meltdown, normals Alistair, and we go ahead and use our Secret to summon out a Indigo, and that is going to negate the Alistair. But unfortunately for us, he still has an Invocation in his hand, makes Almirage, secure Gardna, and then Fusion summons for Mekk. He then special summons out Ecclesia to search a copy of Fleur-de-Lis, and then he summons the Fleur-de-Lis in the same column as our Morningstar. He's not able to negate the effect of Morningstar because it would be activating in the same column as Morningstar, but either way, he's still able to get a monster on the field that's in the same column as Morningstar and able to run it over for 500, because again, its effect to gain attack will be negated by that of Secret. Next turn, Purple Nightfall comes back, and we place it in the same column as his Mekk. We attempt to activate the effect, and we target for cost, and he actually responds with Mekk, and it gets negated because, you know, while it's still attempting to activate, Purple Nightfall is in its same column technically, so that effect is still negated, and we basically just, you know, force out that Mekk negation right away, and our purple goes through. We go ahead and search a Blue Sky, and then we use Unexpected Die while our field is open to go ahead and summon out an Avram. We normal summon an Ibli and make Link Disciple, and we summon the Ibli to his side of the field directly across from our Link Disciple. We summon Blue Sky to go ahead and add a copy of Red Moon. Red Moon gets summoned to the same column as Mekk. We banish a Mekk Knight to destroy it. We then link our Lib and a Morningstar that we just made into an Avermax, and our Lib spins back that copy of Eldlik the Golden Lord. Then we proceed to attack over that of Fleur-de-Lis for 3,000. That pretty much does it for our turn. On his turn, he summons Halka Fibrax. We do negate it with Secrets and Indigo. Then on our next turn, we top deck Reasoning. This card was very kind to us all night. He actually calls level 4. We mill 3 spells off the top before we hit another Purple Nightfall, which is extremely welcomed. Then we use that purple we got off Reasoning to banish itself to search a copy of Blue, and when we summon Blue and declare effect, he actually goes ahead and scoops, so we're on to a game 3 situation. And in game 3, it's no surprise that he made us go first yet again, but luckily for us, we did open Unexpected Die, which we're able to go grab a copy of Avram, normal summon Ibli, make Link Disciple, and go ahead and special summon that Ibli over to his side of the field. We then use our Link Disciple to tribute off that Avram to go ahead and try to draw into another card and recycle one of our cards back to our deck from our hand. And unfortunately, the Link Disciple doesn't help to fix our bad hand, and we just have to pass with Link Disciple and an Ibli on his field. The only thing we manage to do is force an early battle phase from him. He still follows up with Alistair, goes into the Almirage, into Secure Gardna. He has the Cursed Eld Land, pays 8 to grab a copy of Golden Lord. He then proceeds to summon a Mekk and sets 2, and then he passes turn over to us. And on our turn, we normal summon Ibli, attempt to use the Link Disciple to tribute Ibli away for cost, attempt to draw a card. He does have Ash. The Ibli still can activate since it was still tributed. He does attempt to chain that of the Scarlet Sanguine to get another Eldritch the Golden Lord out on his field. But after that, we basically just set 2 and pass, and then he's able to OTK with the Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon, the copy of Mekk, Ecclesia, and then he also has Selene on his field as well. So we just got blown out there in game 3 due to a terrible brick hand. All right, so round 2 is over. We are 1-1, and remember, if we want to win some store credit, we need to have a record of at least 3-1 or better. And heading into round 3, there were some other people in the room that also happened to have the same record as me that were playing some more anti-meta rogue strategies, and of course, That's what we ended up getting paired against here in round 3. It was a Trickstar burn deck, so let's go ahead and take a look at game 1. And as you might expect, in game 1, nothing really happened on his turn except for setting a few back row. On my turn, I used Unexpected Die to get out Avram, and then normal summoned another Avram, and after that, he flipped up a copy of Torrential Tribute. From there, I set another back row, summoned Yellow Star, and tried to pop one of his few remaining back row, which ended up being a Metaverse, and I was worried I was going to see Mystic Mine, but luckily it was just Trickstar Light Stage. I believe the Light Stage either searched Candina or Korobane, but we proceed to the battle phase and try to swing in for 22, but wait, there's a Mirror Force. After that, we just set one and pass, and on his turn, he has a fantastic 2-card combo, so exquisite, so big brain. It's Special Summon Korobane, hey, that rhymed, and Tribute for Vanity's Fiend. He follows that up by going into the battle phase and swinging in for a decent amount of damage. But next turn, I don't have a way to out it, and we just outright lose so quick there in game 1, and we head right to game 2 with a vengeance. And at this point, I've definitely sided in Zaphion and Heavy Storm Duster, some go-to side deck cards for going against these control matchups, and we did opt to go second here because there's nothing more devastating than normal summoning a Zaphion into a board of set 4, especially when he's playing things like Torrential Tribute and Mirror Force. You know, he's not going to be able to destroy that Zaphion, so it's most likely going to go through. He does open the most broken 2-card combo yet again, and that is Korobane for Vanity's Fiend. Luckily, we opened a copy of Infinite Impermanence, and we start our turn with that to turn off that Vanity's Fiend, or else we're just not going to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! From there, we normal summon Zaphion, so we're already off to a good start. So after we summon that Zaphion, we're going to be able to special summon a Purple Nightfall thanks to the free column he's established for us. And when we summon that Purple Nightfall, he goes ahead and fires off a Ring of Destruction, and he doesn't actually wait until we declare the effect of purple, so we just chain in response to the ring. Nobody takes any damage, and we're able to go ahead and grab a Blue Sky, which we summon into that column that he's already given us to search 2 cards, both Indigo Eclipse and Red Moon. Once that resolves, we proceed to the battle phase where the Zaphion is going to attempt to attack into that Vanity's Fiend, and guess what? A Blazing Mirror Force this time, so at least there's some variety. But the Blazing Mirror Force goes through, destroying our Blue Sky, but the Zaphion is still able to resolve since it's not going to be destroyed by card effects, and we shuffle back his remaining back row into the deck, and then we proceed to main phase 2. We then link the Zaphion into Almirage, draw a card from Zaphion's other effect, then we go into a Morning Star, pitch an Indigo, and we go ahead and search a copy of Secrets. We then set 2 back row and pass. On his turn, he starts with another Korobane, and he summons it in the same column as our Morning Star, so when he goes to declare an attack, we use Secret to summon out Indigo, and move the Morning Star out of the way so we don't take any damage. He then ends his turn there, and during our standby phase, Purple Nightfall comes back. And soon after that, he scoops and we head into a Game 3 situation. And in Game 3, we have that classic Mekk Knight problem of being made to go first, and we just set a memory and pass. Luckily for us, he just sets 3, and that does it for his turn. And I think at the start of the main phase, he actually flips up Macro Cosmos and just right out of the blue, so we've got that to worry about, but we start by summoning a copy of Indigo, and we slide him to the right to make room for more Mekk Knights. And one of those Mekk Knights end up being Purple Nightfall, and I try to play it conservative and just head right into the battle phase to try to poke in for 49, and lo and behold, another Mirror Force. But this time around, we go ahead and chain that purple just so we don't take a bunch of burn damage. Purple Nightfall searches us a copy of Avram, and then we summon a Blue Sky into the one column that we do have, and that searches out another copy of Avram, and that does it for our turn. And on his turn, he flips up Messenger of Peace, the card that basically lets you pay 100 life points during each of your standby phases to make it so that any monster your opponent controls with 1500 or more attack cannot declare an attack, but luckily for us, Zaphion has 0 attack. But after that, he ends his turn, and we draw, I believe, a copy of Key or Memory for turn, one of the two. Purple Nightfall comes back, and then we normal summon Avram to make Link Spider, and Link Spider goes in for 1,000. Psych, he's got a Battle Fader. After that, we just use Link Spider to summon out that other Avram we searched and make a Morning Star. Next turn, he summons Lilybell and attacks directly, I believe, and that pretty much does it for his turn. Now, on my turn, I do make sort of a bit of a hot cheat, a little bit of a misplay. I actually normal summon Zaphion without tributing, while I have monsters on my field. I did forget about that clause where it says you can only normal summon without tributing while you have no cards, but technically I still could have both tributed away my Blue Sky and that of Morningstar to be able to get it on the field, and that way I would still been able to out all the back row that he had just the same. So I do apologize for that little slip up there. And luckily for us, when we go to attack his Battle Fader, he doesn't have a response, and all of his back row, Macro, and Messenger of Peace included, go back into his deck. We then use purple to search Red Moon, and then we go ahead and activate a Reasoning. He declares level 7, and we get a free purple Nightfall yet again. We then link Zaphion and Blue Sky into Morningstar and go Morningstar Chainlink 1, Zaphion Chainlink 2. We search Secret off of Morningstar, set that in the same column as his Lilybell, summon a Red Moon, and destroy it, and then we link both of our Morningstars into a copy of the almighty Avermax. On his turn, he's actually able to resolve a card of Demise and normal summon another Vanity's Fiend, but we really don't care about that. We've got Avermax, we've got 4 set back row, a purple, and a Red Moon. There's just nothing he can do about it at this point. And next turn, we just outright murder his Vanity's Fiend, and along with it, the rest of his life points. So that does it for round 3. I again do apologize for that little mishap with Zaphion. I do understand that is something I couldn't do in the way I did it, but I still could have tributed 2 cards to be able to at least get the card on the field to out those problematic cards that he had at the time. So now we're going to head into our 4th and final round. All right, so as I'm editing this, I'm about 25 minutes in on this timeline, and I don't want this part to go any longer because I realize it's been very time consuming. I know some of you guys have been wanting to see more of the matches, more of the actual tournament gameplay, and I'm trying to keep it as condensed as I can, but I don't want it to go much further. And for round 4, I'll basically give you guys a quick summary because it's a very long game. It was like basically almost one at a time. Game 1 was super grindy against the Buster Blader lock deck, and basically it came down to a Spectrum Supreme being able to attack directly for a game. Our opponent did misplay though, however, with a Trap Trick and an Imperm, and if he would have fully understood Spectrum Supreme, he would have been able just to win outright by trap tricking for an Imperm to put it in the same column as the Spectrum Supreme, thus allowing us not to attack directly. But games 2 and 3 were very one-sided. He blew us out just because of the power of the Buster Blader engine, and in game 3 we bricked very, very badly and just really weren't able to play. So this week, in this Tuesday Locals, we were unfortunately able to go 2-2, and missing the mark again just by 1 match, and just sort of heading back to the drawing board. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Saturday. It is currently just about 5:30 right now. I don't have much time to film things, but I did want to update you guys real quick saying that I did basically sort of make a return to form with this Mekk Knight deck. I still have a lot of good feelings about the World Chalice build. I would test it more. Quite frankly, here we are in week 3, and I just feel like I don't have enough time to test it. I haven't had enough time to actually test it. I think there is a lot of merit to it, especially in the testing, the little bit of testing that I've been able to do with it. But today we're going pure, going second. Dark Lure no more in the main, as a lot of you guys have suggested, so I've definitely taken that into account. Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, all that stuff. Girsu is also back in the main deck as well. Like I said, I never fully hated this card. I still think it's a fantastic card, but I still think somewhere out there might be a workaround where you don't need that card, and if you do, maybe 1 copy of as a searchable, powerful normal summon. But like I said, I just don't have the time right now to commit in this specific series with the time we have left to another build like that, an alternate build that I think would be able to function. But we're going to go out tonight. We're going to see if we can get that 4-0. Because I believe the last time we went 3-1, we were playing a similar going second build. I'm also playing 3 Ibly in the main deck because I don't like having just 3 normal summons. I think with a deck like Mekk Knight, especially if we get stranded and have to go first, it's better to have that chance of seeing a normal summon at a higher number. Because again, going first, there's really no way to get to Girsu and make it live without hard drawing the card. So Ibly there as a backup is nice. And also, Ibly's just a great card, all around. And if we see the 2 cards together, we could always just use Girsu as discard fodder. or if the playing field is right, we can just go right for the Girsu and save the Ibli for discard fodder for something else later. But those are all the things I wanted to update you guys on. I'm going to go ahead and get ready, and we're just going to get right to locals. Alright, well, that's it for locals today. Things started off really, really well with this sort of new build, but they went downhill later on very quickly, unfortunately. I don't know what's just going on with this deck. It's just not clicking with me. I don't know. It's been very rough last week and also now this week too. Hopefully in this last week we can turn it around, because we definitely need to, and I know we can. So that's what's the most frustrating thing about this, but let's head home. Let's go do that tournament report. All right, so it is time for that tournament report. I've got the whole deck list sort of laid out in front of me here, just so I can more easily remember and pick out cards that worked well and didn't work well, and things like that. And you guys know, as I mentioned earlier, this is a newer list, obviously. Different than from what we played on Tuesday, because Tuesday just felt abysmal with the engine that we were playing. Not even really engine, just the style build we were playing with the Signet Minings and everything like that, with the Ibli alongside the other stuff. And as I mentioned, I still want to try a World Legacy build, but I just don't think I have the time, with the time we have left in this series, to really be able to make something of it. But we did decide to play a more true to form going second build. We did have Dark Ruler in the main deck, Lightning Storm, all that stuff, Triple Infinite Impermanence, just like a lot of going second hate cards, if you will. And round one we played against the Eldlik Dogmatica deck, so I felt pretty confident going into that matchup, just because it's a deck I've play tested against before. And game one was a very long game. It was a very, very long game. I think it went like 25 minutes or so, maybe approaching 30 minutes just for game one. He just ended up seeing a lot of his Eldritch engine round one, and I think I was fortunate enough to get to World Legacy Key very early. I think he did out it, but after a little while, I'm still able to like keep dodging around his stuff with like Morningstar shenanigans and Indigo, and just secrets and stuff like that. He does eventually find his Alistair engine, which I do hit it with an Imperm because he was playing Invoked as well. And then I'm able to sort of leave my secrets and memory play set for other things. Playing against Eldlik, it's weird because you can't stop any of their traps. You can't stop Golden Lord with your secret memory setup. You kind of need key and memory or key and secret. So that really good setup wasn't so helpful in that sense, but playing the dodge game with Morningstar worked very, very well. But basically, we fast forward a little bit. He ended up making a misplay where I think he had like a Needle Fiber on field, like a Golden Lord, and like one of like a Conquistador trap, or the other one that has like a decent attack or whatever. If he would have put that one in attack, he would have won that turn, because he did have a Sanguine that summoned out another Golden Lord, dropped me down to 500. So I did get another turn where I was able to just make a Avermax with IP Masquerena, and I also had a set memory and secrets, I think, because I kept going in turn after turn lib just to try to set another secret, set another memory, just try to keep stalling until I was able to basically make him run out of resources of his own, and then just basically just put enough Mekk Knights on board to put a lot of damage on, and then kind of lock him out from playing with the World Legacy stuff. But he's able to actually out the Avermax because he sends Golden Lord and another card to the graveyard to send it, and I send one of his other monsters that he had, and then next turn he's not able to put any damage on at all. Next turn we just make a Morningstar. I put out an Indigo, a red, and I think a purple and he scooped. He only had like an Ecclesia on board, I believe. And we're able to out that and put the remaining damage that we need to put on. Then we go to game 2. He makes me go first. I end on just a purple Morningstar with a secret set because he drove me that turn. But I still put the purple on field just to be able to tag out during his turn anyways, so I wouldn't get behind on those searches. And he ended up drolling me the next 2 turns because he opened 3 drolls. But eventually, he doesn't have another droll, able to resolve Blue Sky, going for Gear Suit, things like that. We ended up OTKing. So that was round 1. All right, so we're heading into round 2 here. We played against Cyber Dragons. I go second in game 1. I did win die roll. I just wanted to go second, of course. It was nice not having to worry about die rolls today. Again, as I've always said with Mekk Knights, it's kind of nice not to have to worry about that. But we go second. I opened double Dark Ruler No More, Lightning Storm, Memory, and an Imperm. And I think my last draw, I think my 6th card was a Gear Sewer or something like that. A really, really good draw, or a Blue Sky. I'm not entirely sure. It was just a really good hand all around. But basically, he ends with Cyber Dragon, Infinity, and Dragoons. Like, he has a really, really solid opening. I basically go into a Morningstar play. He has an Ash for that, unfortunately, so I'm just able to end on Morningstar with the secret, a Lightning Storm set, and an Imperm, and I think maybe a Memory on top of that. But we spin the Dragoon back with a lib that I had made previously in that turn, just so the Dragoon doesn't stick around. That's a card we do not want to stick around. Hindsight, I probably should have just Dark Rulered, then Lightning Stormed. I don't know why I didn't. I just kind of saved the Lightning Storm, and I regret doing that because I never used it, never got a chance to use it later on that game because I always had a face-up key. It prevented me from using it, so I should have just Dark Rulered, Lightning Stormed, and gone off, but I was worried that I wouldn't have a column to work with because I don't think I actually opened Gear Suit. I think I had to make plays otherwise, so I had to actually leave his monsters there for me to get value out of them with the Mekk Knight stuff. But then, so yeah, I spin back the Dragoons. Not able to clear the CDI, unfortunately. Next turn, he takes the Morningstar I have with the CDI attacks. Next turn, I have the Dark Ruler again, because like I said, I did open double Dark Ruler, so I could use the World Legacy World Chalice in my graveyard. Search Memory, resolve a purple. He doesn't have any plays after my turn. He passes. And then next turn, purple comes back in that same zone. I basically can make it so he can't negate any of our cards via the secrets that we had face up. We make another Morningstar. He tries to negate. I use the Imperm that we have set since we did not have a Mekk Knight in that column anymore. We're able to secure a good board and OTK with just a ton of Mekk Knights out onto the field. That game did grind out a little bit, but we're able to just slowly whittle them down and basically take the game from there. And I notice a lot of games have been going like that with Mekk Knight so far. And I really kind of wish at several points that I had like Pot of Avarice or 2 copies of Pot of Avarice in the main deck because I definitely needed it. And then game 2, he makes me go first. I end on Secret and Memory after he hit us with a Nibiru. I think I'm actually still able to make a Morningstar after that Nibiru because I summon a Red Moon, pop his Nibiru, and then I link the token and the Red Moon in for another Morningstar just so I have that battle phase protection. And then he has a core on his field that he tries to activate. I try to negate with Secret. He has a red reboot. I get to set a Sanctum for my deck, but he can't do anything past that other than, you know, attacking for minor amounts of damage. And next turn, we're just able to outright OTK after that, and there really isn't much else to say. So we're going to go ahead and look at rounds 3 and 4 now for the remainder of this tournament report. All right, so in round 3, we had the pleasure of playing against Prank Kids. Really wasn't looking forward to this one. This is a very difficult matchup. It does so many things. I don't know what to stop. You can see I have an Impermanence in my hand, which I believe I did hold for the Cock-a-doodle-doo. I don't know if that's the best hit. I think it might have been one of the only things that I really would have been able to hit. But as you can also see, he is playing with the Prank Kids brand new Link 1. This was the first locals that I played in that the new Phantom Rage stuff was legal for. Yeah, that Link 1 really does make this deck that much better. It turns all of your Prank Kids monsters into excellent starters, and they just help facilitate combo. But I did make a bit of a mistake here in game 1, so we're going to go ahead and jump forward to that particular point. So I'll bring you guys up to speed real quick. We just got into Beerud and we resolved a reasoning, found ourselves a red moon through the reasoning, and we just summoned that red moon in the same column that the Nibiru on his side of the field was, banished the Gearsu to destroy it. Now we make Morningstar pitch Scar's search memory. We attempt to go battle phase. He activates Pandemonium to summon Battle Butler, and he's going to have an absurd amount of chain links here to resolve. But I have a Dark Ruler No More in my hand, and a copy of Course Memory. We just searched it. But we also just happen to have, burned our red moon already. It's in the graveyard. We really don't have a way to get it back this turn, unless some way we find a way to get to Succession, or something along the lines of that. Or maybe I had the big brain play of, not discarding Scars, but I don't think I had a choice in the matter. Maybe trying to go to Spectrum Supreme to beat over that 3K. So I don't know. Maybe there was some other turn of events. If maybe I could have foresaw the Pandemonium play a bit better, and maybe left myself a way to deal with Butler after I Dark Ruler it. I probably should have done that. We can't use the World Legacy Roll Chalice in our grave this turn since it was just sent there. But the Dark Ruler in my hand is looking pretty useless, even though it could potentially be super helpful in giving us access to potentially shut off this Battle Butler this turn to deal with it so we don't have to deal with it next turn. But we just don't have the resources, unfortunately. I just don't know if there was something else that I could have done. Maybe been a bit more, conservative in some other plays. But basically, later on here, on his following turn, he tries to use Battle Butler. We chain Secret, and he chains the Battle Butler again, which actually throws me off quite a bit, because at this point I was unsure as how he was able to do this, but I guess it's not a once per chain effect, nor is it once per turn now, especially with Meow in the game. But basically the way this is going to fire off is that, the Butler's second effect will activate to nuke the Morningstar. Then it'll be off the field, and when the first nuke attempts to activate, purple will be there to negate it, because secrets will already have resolved to negate that first one. So we only lose the Morningstar and keep the purple. We do end up using that Dark Ruler No More later, but it's only on a Totally Awesome, and it really doesn't help advance our game state that much. And he also has another Pandemonium, so we just cannot survive another Battle Butler. So we do have to go to game 2. And in game 2, I decided it'd be a good idea for me to go first so I don't have to try to play through his board again, because it is pretty hard to play through. But it's just one of those hands with Mekk Knights where don't open Gearsu, don't open any other good side deck cards, so I'm forced to just not do anything and pass. I did open up 2 Impermanence, but as we saw in game 1, Impermanence really didn't help our cause too much. And at this point, I'm just kind of hoping he can't OTK, and that maybe he doesn't have a way to get to a fusion spell if our Impermanence is able to land on that Cockadoodle-Doo. He also didn't open up Drone Lockbird, so that's kind of unfortunate for us. So we're just going to go ahead and fast forward here to the end of his turn. Luckily, his field isn't super extravagant. We do start with a Purple Nightfall, and once we summon it and declare its effect, he does chain out his Link Monster to be able to add 2 back to his hand. But our purple is still able to go through for Gearsu. But once we add Gearsu, he actually does have a copy of Droll and Lockbird, as I mentioned before. That's not super problematic, because we can still use Lib to get our World Legacy spells and traps in play, but that basically slows us down in the sense that we're not going to be able to use them that turn, because the turn they're set, they cannot be used while we have no World Legacy monster in grave, which we weren't actually able to send the World Legacy World Chalice to the grave off this Gearsu because we drew it. And the only other way we'd be able to get it to the graveyard is by resolving Morningstar, which we can't even attempt to activate right now under Droll and Lock. So it's going to slow us down a little bit. Yes, we can still make plays, but the Droll and Lock really did hurt here. And I think I might actually end up going for a Galatea at this point to try to make a play with the Red Moon, banishing the Gearsu. And then using Galatea to shuffle the Gearsu back to set Orchestrated Return to try to, have a chance to draw some cards next turn, but ultimately it's just not enough. And in the following turn, as you might have expected, he does have Battle Butler in play, which is a huge problem for us. He does end up making a Link play here. He was going to go for, I think, maybe a Link 4, but instead goes for a Link 3 play. He goes for Nightmare Unicorn, and he does discard another copy of Place. He ends up targeting our set secret. We do chain, but unfortunately we don't have Indigo in play right now. But he's just going to be able to link right up into an access code talker, and that is just going to spell game immediately, and we're going to move into round 4. All right, so game 1 here against our round 4 opponent, who actually happened to be our same round 4 opponent that we played on Tuesday. Luckily for us, he's on a different deck, not that Buster Blader deck, because, man, I am sick of that deck at this point. He is playing Virtual World, and unfortunately for him, he did not have the best opening. I don't think he drew into any Virtual World monsters off that Desire, so really forced him to have a very bad turn. But luckily for us, playing that 6 normal summon count really did help us out here. As you can see, Ibly being the saving grace, basically preventing us from having to basically set a card and pass, using Link Disciple there to get another draw. I got a little overzealous thinking I hadn't normal summoned yet at that point. I'm like, oh, I could just go for Gearsu here, maybe put on more pressure, but of course the Ibly took the normal summon, which at the end of the day wasn't so bad because it did help us to play the actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But this is the one reason I wanted to show you guys this game, is this simple interaction here. Maybe just food for thought going forward for Mekk Knights, but obviously that Ibly is going to basically prevent him from playing quite a bit. We'll swing for 3k directly, and of course the important thing about that is the Ibly is going to stay on his field for him to deal with next turn, and we're going to set 3 and pass. Now obviously a deck like Virtual World is going to have a very hard time dealing with something like Ibly. The only thing that could make it better is if we had cards that we could build into the deck that would prevent attacks from happening, so that Ibly would stay on the field. For him to have to deal with outside of just going into the battle phase. But that Ibly also did turn off, I believe, Imperm and Nibiru as well. So that card definitely put in a lot of work. But basically, to sum the rest of this matchup, we basically shut his turn down completely this turn, and we just sort of come back and win the following turn. So we'll go ahead and take a look at game 2. So this time around, our opponent actually managed to open a good hand and is really trying to do what the deck wants to do, which for me at the time, I was still new to how Virtual Worlds operated. I didn't understand, what the end result was going to be, and I was very disappointed to find out that it's just True King of All Calamities Turbo with their new level 9 synchro. That is sort of basically just like a walking macro Cosmos, and the only reason I know about that card is because it's something I have been wanting to play in Speedroid. So he's going to use the card in the graveyard to make that last Virtual World monster increase its level by 3 to go into 2 Calamities. And yeah, that right there is a very hard board to break, especially if I'm not seeing any cards like Dark Ruler or Droplet. I did see the Harpy's Feather Duster, so that did kind of come in clutch, but long story short, we're not able to break this field, so we do have to go into game 3. Alright, so game 3 sort of starts very similar to that of game 2. He does end on the True King of All Calamities board with that Datascape level 9. We do have Dark Ruler, thankfully, but he does have that trap card to chain in response, thus giving him an opportunity to try to resolve that True King of All Calamities since it is not activating directly in response to Dark Ruler. So he has the sort of play around there for it, but we also have the play around in that of Forbidden Droplet. So we're able to turn off the True King and his Synchro, thanks to both Dark Ruler and the Droplet. We do have to sort of lose quite a bit of cards. We do have to discard another Droplet off Droplet because we couldn't send the Dark Ruler because it would have gotten banished, and Droplet does have to send. So an error happens here. We're able to resolve Gearsu and summon the token to our field, but I did place a token on his side of the field. No one ever put any sort of physical representation of that token, and I kind of forgot about it because this was one of those long games, and those little things tend to get lost in translation. And it does end up sort of making a difference here because I did have a card in my hand that I did set that I don't think I needed to set because I could have just summoned the card
from my hand outright by having that column already established. I do have to go into Galatea because I want to get that, hit that field cleared. Can't leave True King of all Calamities. I can't afford to leave that Synchro or let it even hit the grave, even because it can just recur itself from the grave. So we use Lib to shuffle it back, and this is that instance where I do set that card to make blue live, and I could have potentially got to search 2 cards instead of just 1, which would have allowed me to get access to Yellow Star, and I could have set that other card underneath Ding to move the blue over to summon yellow to remove that trap card, because that trap card does become very problematic later on, which you'll see, and we'll fast forward to that instance. So that memory that we do have is forced out by a Vermilion Mekk Dragon, and he's able to pop our secret in response to his activation because that trap card is still face up on his side of the field. And again, potentially we could have gotten a blue for 2 search, would have netted us both indigo and yellow, and give us the opportunity to remove that from the field, and potentially not giving him any sort of access to, make plays, not giving any of his virtual world monsters in hand a target to be able to summon themselves out. So he goes into Cicada King here, and he swings in for 12, and then I'm forced to summon out Yellow Star from the deck to block damage. But ultimately, it's not the best thing here, and eventually we'll fast forward even further to when time is just about to be called. And yeah, as you can see, my opponent was able to reestablish a board again, and also managed to get Totem Bird on the field, which really hurt because, again, he was able to stop my secrets once more. Luckily, I do at least have purple. We try to resolve the cup. It does go through here, and we go for Blue Sky. And as you can see, there is a token on the side of the field, because when I resolve another Girsu, I believe a turn prior, I didn't want to forget that token this time, because I think at this point I had realized that I had already forgot that token. And I have no choice but to go for memory, so I'm locked into Mekk Knights, and Spectrum Supreme is my only other option. I attack over the Totem Bird, but it's just not enough, and he takes the match there 2-1 in time. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for this week's episode of One Deck One Month. I do realize that this one went out a bit late, as you can tell, as it's winter from the future. But yeah, this episode took a lot longer to put together, primarily because I wanted to spend more time trying to showcase more of the matches. I know a lot of you guys have, requested to kind of see a little bit more of the games actually being shown in these videos. If this is something that you guys had in mind in terms of like showcasing matches, let me know in the comment. If it was a bit too much, let me know as well. But yeah, just a recap, we went X2 at both locals. Obviously not good. We have 1 week left to try to make some changes, and those changes are primarily going to be, again, as I've already talked about, going back to that tried and true going second, blind second sort of glass cannon Mekk Knight list. The new list that you guys will see in the next episode. Very excited to showcase its strengths and things like that. And I believe there's already a deck profile on the channel for that particular list if you want to check it out. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Next week will be online locals. Hope you guys are still looking forward to it, because it still should be a pretty decent episode. We will learn quite a few things. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all your patience and support on this series. It really does mean a lot. And as always, guys, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you in the next one. Of course, as always, a huge shout out goes to our Divine Level channel members here on YouTube, Academic Thick, Zors, and Cadillacs84. Again, thank you guys so much for the continued support.